Dana White, the president of the UFC, told a wild story during UFC 278. It's funny, Rob Gronkowski and Dana White are talking, and it's, by the way, it's split screen. They're talking in two different screens, and in the background, there's literally a fight going on, like kind of on the side. Nobody cares about the fight because Rob Gronkowski's interviewing Dana White, and Gronk is encouraging Dana to tell this story. And it's just funny. I keep seeing videos of this moment, and there's like a fight happening in the background that I don't know who's fighting. I don't care at all. I wasn't invested in the fight. I was there for what Dana White said. But I just want to point out, it is kind of funny that in the background of this entire clip is two men fighting that is just being completely ignored by everyone. Now, here's what happened. Apparently, Dana White had a deal ready to get Tom Brady and Gronk to go play in Vegas for the Raiders. And, according to Dana White, Tom Brady was already looking at houses, which, I don't know. Apparently, he was looking at houses. That doesn't really mean a lot to me because you just open up Zillow. Anyone can open their phone and look at houses. But the year Tampa won the Super Bowl with Tom Brady could have been on the Raiders instead. That is what we learned. And the reason why that didn't happen was because Raiders head coach John Gruden, among other reasons, but the reason what we're told is Dana White says, hey, John Gruden blew up the deal. Quote, he said, John Gruden blew up the deal. That's the quote. And I will be totally honest. I don't find this very compelling. I believe it wholeheartedly. I believe that Dana White's telling the truth. I believe Dana White put together a deal and was trying to get Tom Brady to come to Vegas. He's from Boston. He lives in Vegas. Brady did go to a UFC fight. Like, I'm not surprised at all to hear this news that apparently there were conversations behind the scenes about Brady going to the Raiders. And Tom Brady gave this really spicy quote on a show. It's called The Shop. One team was interested, and then suddenly they weren't interested at the very end. And he said, quote, you're sticking with that, MFer?
In free agency, one of the teams, they were interested, and all of a sudden they weren't interested at the very end. I was sitting there thinking, you're sticking with that, are you serious?
Then Brady goes on to say that who knows if he even would have actually chosen that team, but it hurt that they didn't want him. I get it. It makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. When I look back, I'm like, there's no way I would have went to that team. But they said they didn't want me, and I know what that means. I know what that feels like, and I'm going to f*** you up because of that.
You can watch the full clip. There's an HBO show called The Shop. It's available on YouTube as well. LeBron, I think, owns it and took it off of HBO, put it on YouTube. You can find it if you want to find it. But here is why I don't care that much about this entire story. Tom Brady wasn't a great fit for the Raiders, and frankly, the Raiders were not a great fit for Tom Brady. Tom Brady needed a team that was loaded with talent and ready to win a Super Bowl. Tampa was exactly what Tom Brady needed. The Raiders were not. So I don't know that Tom Brady would have won a Super Bowl if he'd gone to the Raiders. And at the time for the Raiders, getting rid of their young stud quarterback Derek Carr for an older Tom Brady, in my opinion, would have been a step backwards. I know that's weird to say because theoretically Tom Brady's better than Derek Carr, but it's not Madden. You're not just working on paper. You also got to factor in the future and what's best for the franchise long term and stuff like that. And this might be kind of weird, but I actually agree with John Gruden that I think he did the right thing by sticking with Derek Carr instead of Tom Brady. If they had brought Tom Brady in, things would not have gone as well as they did in Tampa, first of all, right? Antonio Brown would not have come. He already went to the Raiders. It didn't work with John Gruden. He already left. So there would have been no Antonio Brown. The Raiders would have had an older quarterback and sacrificed their future. And I don't really know why we're having this discussion. As if I've heard people say, can you believe John Gruden didn't want Tom Brady? Yes, I can. Derek Carr is not a worthless quarterback. He's younger. He's your future. And again, the Raiders would not have given Tom Brady what he really wanted, a team that was able to win a Super Bowl immediately. He got that in Tampa. He wouldn't have got that in Vegas. The most notable part of this entire story, this juicy thing that Dana White put out there, is Tom Brady calling Derek Carr an MFer. I mean, we assume he meant Derek Carr. I think it's pretty easy to assume, yeah, the team that pulled out last minute was the Raiders, and you're sticking with that guy, basically? That's the quote from Tom Brady. It's not even that compelling. You're sticking with that guy? That's what Tom Brady said, actually. Yes, insert the word MFer, but I don't know about you. In my everyday life, when I'm not in a professional setting, I say MFer all the time. I'm just saying that guy, basically. And is it really a shock that Tom Brady thinks he's better than Derek Carr? Of course he does. To be Tom Brady, you have to have absolute confidence. And so the more I think about it, the more it's the only controversy here really is that I think Derek Carr is an awesome quarterback. And I think he was right for the Raiders long term. And that might be weird to say. That might be controversial. People think if you get Tom Brady, you take him automatically. And maybe it's good for business for the Raiders to have gotten Derek Carr. But I just think things worked out for everybody. Like the way things turned out, John Gruden got fired for non-football stuff. Tom Brady won a Super Bowl. Brady would have been unhappy in Vegas, I believe, because he wouldn't have won as much as he wanted to. And Derek Carr is going to be the Raiders quarterback long after Tom Brady retires. So it's a juicy story at first to go, oh my goodness, John Gruden could have had Tom Brady, then said no. But the more I think about it, the more I go, yeah, of course he did. Ooh, John Gruden said no to Brady. Ooh, Tom Brady called someone, Derek Carr, an MFer. But the more you think about the story, the less it matters and the less I care. And I don't find it very compelling. I know that's weird to say. It's certainly notable and interesting that the Raiders could have had Tom Brady and decided not to move on him. But that's an outcome that wouldn't have been very interesting. In the world of infinite possibilities, alternate dimensions, we'll say. There's an alternate dimension out there where Tom Brady did go to the Raiders, and I think it was less interesting and less fun, and he would have won less in Vegas than he did in Tampa. And I just feel like, okay, that's a potential reality we could be living in. That's not as exciting as the one we live in now, and I find it not very compelling.